right, good evening. I'm Faye D'Souza. Thank you for joining us. There's a very important conversation we must have, and that is the conversation of the anti-conversion laws. Now, the state of Karnataka is the latest state to announce its intent to table an anti-conversion law before the assembly. One understands it will happen in the next 1 week. There's a statement from the Home Minister of the state as well, and the Chief Minister, who's having to defend this law quite a lot. There are newspaper reports that have already come out. The PTI, and I'm going to read out some of it. The PTI has put out a report saying the anti-conversion bill in Karnataka will be introduced in the winter session. It will have penal provisions, which means that if you are accused and you're found guilty, you can go to jail. That is speaking to the Deccan Herald, the Home Minister of the state of Karnataka, Mr. Jnanendra, has said it will be tabled next week, and the penal clauses invoked will basically be for those who play a part in converting people. That's what he said. The jail time, based on reports, could be 3 to 5 years. Some reports say 10 years, and a fine of up to 50,000 rupees. Here's, it's interesting. The jail time is higher and the fine is higher for converting minors, women, and people from the SC/ST communities. And I'm still trying to understand why there is a difference and why there are two categories of individuals here. According to the Indian Express, the bill says that it is meant to tackle conversion from one religion to another by misrepresentation, force, fraud, undue influence, coercion, allurement, or marriage. No person shall convert or attempt to convert another person using misrepresentation, force, due influence, coercion, allurement, or any fraudulent means, or by marriage, nor shall a person abet or conspire for these conversions. It also says that the individual who wishes to convert will have to file an application before the Deputy Commissioner 2 months before that conversion actually happens. Karnataka Chief Minister Basavaraj Bommai has basically said that seers of various mutts have appealed to the state government to implement a ban on religious conversion in the state. But he has reiterated many times that this conversion bill, the anti-conversion bill, will treat all religions equally. He's also said that the bill is to prevent religious conversion by inducement. So if you're not doing it, there's no reason to worry. Poor and vulnerable people should not fall for this. Conversions lead to problems within families, and that is the reason why this bill is being considered. Now, Karnataka is not the only state. We know that Arunachal Pradesh, Gujarat, Odisha, Himachal Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Uttarakhand have already brought in similar laws. Questions that we have to ask right now. In a country where we have the fundamental right to profess and propagate our religion, where does anti-conversion fall within our constitution and the fundamental rights that we have? And does this pass legal muster? To help us understand that and what our constitution says, we have Mr. Dushyant Dave joining us right now, senior advocate with the Supreme Court. Mr. Dave, it is always a pleasure to have a conversation with you. Thank you so much for your time for us. My first question, obviously, I read out the provisions as they have been reported, but just to put it into place for our audience, Article 25 of our Constitution gives us freedom of conscience, profession, practice, and propagation of religion. 26 says freedom to manage religious affairs. Article 27 says freedom of payment of taxes for the promotion of any particular religion. And of course, we have our right to equality, which means that everybody has to be treated the same, irrespective of what you choose to believe. Now, in my understanding of this, I could decide tomorrow that I believe that cupcakes are God, and everybody who comes to my house will be given a free cupcake. That's up to me, as ridiculous as it might sound to anybody else. Is that breaking the law now if I choose to convert to a religion of my own imagination? And how does this work?
Well, it's an extremely, debatable subject. It is an extremely sensitive subject. And it is also, I would say, unfortunate for a beautiful democracy that we have, where, the constitutional framers really wanted us freedoms, in most liberal sense. And as you rightly point out, that freedom of, conscience, freedom to profess religion or to propagate religion is absolutely guaranteed, subject, of course, to public order, health, and morality. Now, I don't see these, laws falling into any one of these. Sadly, I must say that Constitution bench of the Supreme Court many years ago in Stein's Laws versus Madhya Pradesh case had said that laws against conversion will be protected by public order exception under Article 25 because they lead to breach of tranquility. Now, I honestly, frankly, I don't understand what judges meant by that. Because there were judgments earlier, as early as 1954, in I think Ratilal Shah or something, where the Supreme Court had said that you not only have a right to profess your own religion, but also to propagate it. Frankly, I mean, the line is so thin, and it is, therefore, virtually, impossible for anyone to really decide or decipher as to when that line is going to be crossed. And certainly law should not, provide that line, because it's a very thin line, and it's a line which can be easily crossed by citizens. So I think, to prohibit it by laws is something which we really don't. You must understand that this is a country where for thousands of years, Hinduism has been professed and, in the most liberal possible manner. This is a country which yet produced some of the finest religions that we can think of: Jainism, Buddhism, Sikhism. All these religions have been born despite the prevalence of Hinduism. And at no point of time, either the rulers in those days or, the society at large ever thought it, to really bring about laws or bring about some kind of punishment for people converting, because all the Jains who exist today or all the Buddhists who exist today in India were at one point of time Hindus. And so are all the Muslims who exist in this country. They were also, or the Christians for that matter, or the Sikhs for that matter. In fact, there was a tradition in the early, phase of the Sikhism, where almost every Hindu family would, I think, virtually offer to the Sikh gurus one child, one son, male son, to become a Sikh. And it was never objected to. It was, it was such a beautiful tradition, because this religion, Sikhism, was really born against the oppression of the Mughals, and therefore society at that time felt that we should really, do something so that this religion can prosper and this religion can help us against the atrocities of the Mughal emperors. But most of all, and this is where I would like to say something, most of all, if Hinduism ever felt threatened, it produced likes of great, saints. Shankaracharya, he traveled, from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, from an entire breadth of the country in his young days, and really brought the revival of Hinduism, which was then perhaps, feeling some kind of a pressure on account of Jainism or Buddhism more so. So, this country needs, a saint to persuade people not to look at other religion. It doesn't need laws to really punish them.
But could we argue then, and I'm arguing the other side here, Mr. Ravi, could we argue then that the numbers are coming down? There is this concern that there are other people, other religions converting Hindus, bringing down the population numbers of Hindus, and so that needs to be prevented? Or, for example, the argument that, like the Chief Minister of Karnataka has made, saying people are vulnerable and poor, and so they're being offered money and education, and they're being offered gifts in return for conversion. Does that amount to fraud?
Well, it's a difficult line. How do you propagate your religion? You have a right to propagate the religion. And that right to propagate would include right to, tell people about the good points of your religion. And as a result of that, if somebody, accepts that and decides to become, to convert to, Islam or to Christianity or to Buddhism or to Sikhism, you can't say that the force has been used, or, somebody has been coerced, somebody has been fraudulently, as I think, as has been said, by that there is only one religion in the world. The rest of them are mere facets of religions. So, all religions are born out of one philosophy. Religion is ultimately a philosophy. And it is born, all these religions, there are different tenets. Ultimately, every religion, takes you to the same point, and that is, existence of a supreme being. So there is no reason why anybody should really feel that when I'm trying to tell good points about, I'm a Hindu, I'm a proud Hindu, I'm a Brahmin, I'm a proud Brahmin. If I were to tell somebody, a Christian friend or a Muslim friend, that these are, good points of my religion, and that friend decides that yes, what I am saying is right, I have a very powerful, way of explaining to them, and they say that no, we would like to, follow your religion, it doesn't become coercion. Likewise, if a Christian or a Muslim or a Sikh or a Buddhist persuades his friend or somebody whom he knows or his neighbor, and they feel that no, their religion has some nice things. So it's something which the line is so thin to reach the conclusion even under law. I mean, the evidence would be, according to me, well nigh impossible to prove in a court of law that yes, somebody has been forced. Yes, it can happen if by offering money somebody is forced to convert. That's a different situation. But I would say that this attempts, yes, these anti-conversion laws have been in existence for almost now 60, 70 years, right from when state of Orissa brought the first law, and thereafter the state of Madhya Pradesh followed it, and many states have done it. And these laws have been in existence, but these laws have seriously not been implemented. And there are a large number of people in this country. For example, Christianity was the last religion to come to this country. And there are, I mean, it's not a very sizable, but there are few million Christians in this country. And, there's nothing wrong about people, Hindus becoming Christians, on their own volition. Now, I mean, somebody can say that, no. Now, take, for example, 2 days back in Gujarat, they decided to proceed against this beautiful charity run by that Calcutta great nun. I forget the name.
Missionaries of Charity by Mother
Yes.
Teresa.
Yeah. Now that charity, I mean, the school has they in Baroda was questioned, and they are saying that you are trying to tell the girls about your religion. Now I know of thousands of men and women who have gone to Christian schools. My own children went to Christian schools, and I have never felt that my children were ever, persuaded to think of Christianity, were never lured into Christianity, much less were never forced to, learn Christian religion. I mean, I don't think my children even know Bible. They did go to Christian schools, I'm sure, and they have. My children have, I mean, the Christian schools have produced great value system in my children. Now, that's something which, we see it all around. So there is no reason to fear. What has happened is that, and this is where we as a society need to seriously, think about it, that for thousands of years, we have treated, a large section of our society, perhaps a majority section of Hindu society, as virtual outcasts, treated them as untouchables. And we have not been able to really uplift them and bring them on the same level of social order as the high caste Hindus are, like the Brahmins, the Banyas, the Rajputs, and others. Now, if as a result thereof, if people do feel that, my religion does not allow me to have the same status as other castes, then I think people will naturally look to the other religions where there is no caste system virtually, and people would like to be, treated equally when they go to a place of worship like a church or a mosque, unlike a temple wherein large number of temples.
Mr. Dave, it's unfortunate that you have to make this argument now, because B.R. Ambedkar, Dr. Ambedkar, converted for this very reason to Buddhism, and he's the architect of our constitution. I mean, the fact that 70 years later we're having to have this conversation about this very thing.
Well, I must say that 70 years down the road, this country has not grown politically mature, we need to understand that our religion is so strong from within that it doesn't need protection of the laws. The basic tenets of our religion are so beautiful and so strong. I mean, that we don't need this kind of situation where we need to stop people from, going from our religion to other religions or looking, towards. See, ultimately, what is it? It is, religion in one sense is intellectualism, and in another sense, it is also, it's also a way of life. Now, if you feel that the intellectual content of some other religion or a way of life of some other religion is more, more in tune with my ideas, then I might think of it. Nothing wrong about it. So I don't think, Ambedkar was actually deeply disturbed. And one reason why he was disturbed and turned towards Buddhism was the treatment of the untouchables. He saw that even after, having acquired such fantastic high education and got at least 2 or 3 PhDs in United States of America in those days, in the 30s. I mean, the man must have been exceptional, a genius. When he came back, he was sent by Maharaja Sayajirao of Baroda to study abroad. And when he came back and he joined Maharaja Sayajirao in his darbar in Baroda, after a short while, he felt extremely disappointed, because with all that education, he could not acquire the same social status which he thought he deserved. And he therefore left Baroda. And he ultimately, in his many speeches, when he went to Buddhism, in many speeches, he has really severely criticized the way Hindus treated him and the untouchables. So, I mean, it's a sad commentary. It's a sad commentary on us as a society that, somebody as great as Ambedkar left our religion and went to some other religion.
I do want to ask you this, based on some of the things we're reading about this bill, and the thing that I pointed out, that converting minors, women, and people from the SC/ST community will actually draw a higher punishment. This looks like inequality to me. As a woman, why should I, why should my faith be treated differently? Why is it being treated? What is the logic? Can you see any logic? Does this hold up for you in your mind?
See, there are very rare exceptions where people from high caste would look to other religion for whatever reason. Maybe because they feel that their religion is very good. But people who are untouchable, who are downtrodden, who are vulnerable amongst the Hindus, including tribals and scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, or other backward classes, they do feel, and I don't blame them, they do feel that they don't have the same space as others in the religion and, in religious activities. And as a result of that, they are more likely to, think of or look at some other religions for professing religion in their lives. Now, it is the fear of, the Pandits and the Brahmins that these people will go away. Then what happens? Large section of society will be deserting our religion. So that fear is completely ill-founded. I mean, it's a very minuscule percentage of people who would think of going to other religion. And as a result, for even after Christianity came, I mean, take for example, Islam. I mean, virtually for almost 1,000 years, Islam ruled this country. And yet Hinduism survived, despite all that oppression that we now say that the Mughal emperors and other Islamic rulers inflicted upon the majority of the Hindus. But the Hinduism survived beautifully as a religion, as a way of life, and religious activities, religious institutions. So I think the kind of a differing punishment is really to send a message to the untouchables not to think about going there, and a message to the other religions, especially Islam and Christianity, that do not go near these people, otherwise you will be in trouble. So I think that seems to be the message, which I think is a very unfortunate message.
It sounds to me, Mr. Dave, like an all-round infringement of the fundamental rights of both of these groups.
Well, it is undoubtedly, as I told you earlier, that in my own view, the judgment of the Supreme Court in Stein's Law's case doesn't lay down good law, because, conversion, I mean, I don't understand how you are going to really, decipher forcible conversion. If somebody goes, for example, let's say I am a Hindu and I go to a church and I like the atmosphere of a church. And, I like the way the priest is, giving the sermons. And I like the hymns which are being, sung there, and the choir music which is being played there. Then I decide to go there again and again and again. And slowly I start thinking about Christianity. I mean, is it forcible conversion? So, the line being very, very thin, as I have said, I think, yes, this judgment of the Supreme Court does require a revisitation. And I think that even political class in this country should perhaps rethink about what they are trying to, I think, I don't think this kind of a law for a modern, vibrant democracy like India is really, I would say, justified.
I have 2-3 questions stemming from what you said, and let me take them one by one. I called out the number of states that already have anti-conversion laws in place. If you say these laws need to be relooked or at, from a legal point of view, tested constitutionally, why is it none of them have come before the Supreme Court yet? Because that's the argument that many of the BJP spokespeople of the Karnataka government are making. They're saying, if you feel that this law is unconstitutional, take it to the Supreme Court, which is a fair argument in my mind. But why is it that none of these laws have come before the court so far?
See, first and foremost, we must remember, and which is not good for us as a country, that we are increasingly becoming a majoritarian state. And it is not right for us to impose our will as a majority on the minorities. And, it's something, very, very fundamental. It's, you must understand that India is a secular nation, not because secularism was inserted in the preamble to the Constitution in 1976 by the 46th Amendment. I think our Constitution, if you look to various provisions, was founded on principle of secularism. And therefore, secularism is inbuilt so far as our constitutional morality is concerned, so far as our constitutional thinking is concerned. Now, having said that, the judiciary's approach many a times is, I would say, quite conservative in these matters. And judges therefore tend to justify these kind of laws which are passed. But take, for example, right to privacy. Recently the judgment in Puttaswamy's case, there again the Supreme Court said that right to privacy includes right to profess one's own religion. So, it's something, a religion, professing religion, according to me, should also be made part of right to life under Article 21. Because ultimately, quality of life is as important, because for professing religion, and if that quality is going to be in any manner hampered by these laws, then I think it certainly violates Article 21 of the Constitution. So dignity of an individual can't be taken away because he propagates his religion to somebody else to look at his own religion, or somebody decides to convert to another religion. Either way, so I think the judges will have to I think take a much broader, much more liberal approach than what sometimes they take. And in Puttaswamy, of course, they have taken an extraordinarily liberal approach. I would commend that kind of an approach when the challenge to these laws are coming up. But as to a pointed question by you, I must say that the Supreme Court somehow does not grab the opportunity to test these laws. For example, love jihad laws.
Yes.
Now, to call love a jihad itself is a disgrace in my mind. I mean, love is so beautiful. You can't really, equate love to a jihad, which is, which when one uses the expression jihad, one, equates it with terrorism. Love is beautiful. I mean, everybody is ultimately, human being exists because of love. And you can't just, now if two individuals decide to, fall into love with each other, you can't, force them and say that, no, you are from, different religions, it's an interfaith marriage, and therefore you must go to a district magistrate and take permission 1 month or 2 months beforehand, etc., etc. Now that these kind of laws, to my mind, are ab expressai unconstitutional. But question is, Supreme Court doesn't, these laws, the challenge against these laws did come to Supreme Court. I think last year when Chief Justice Bobde was presiding, and he sent these people back to the high courts, and the high courts are not deciding them. I don't see a single high court which has really gone into it. But so far as the Gujarat law on conversion is concerned, the division bench of the Gujarat High Court has protected citizens partly in that against that law, and said that you must have the rigors of law are very, very severe, and you can't enforce it the way you have brought the sections. So I mean, but that's an exceptional case which I have come across.
In fact, the Supreme Court weighed in on the Hadia case specifically, but has not looked at any of the laws that have been written subsequently since that. But with your permission, Mr. Dave, I want to ask a larger question about secularism. You did mention in your answer that we're running the risk of becoming a majoritarian state. On paper, in our preamble, we still have the word secularism, but there are many arguments right now on social media being made about the fact that the word was not included when it was first written out. It was included in the 70s later, that, maybe India is a Hindu country. Would you explain to us, please, based on our constitution and the interpretation of our constitution in your mind, what does secularism in India mean? Because it's different from the secularism of Europe. Our secularism is different from how France is secular. What in your mind is secularism by the Indian definition?
No, I mean, there is no, one way to define secularism. And first and foremost, I don't agree with those who say that, secularism was introduced for the first time in 1976 and in the Constitution, and therefore Constitution didn't really speak of secularism prior to that. I think then they are singularly mistaking or missing the point that Articles 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30, which together, really are founded on the principle of secularism. It's not only just right to profess your own religions and propagate it, but also protection of the minorities and minorities' right to establish and administer their own institutions of education, their own institutions of religious, teachings. All that has been expressly protected under the Constitution. And it is part and parcel of the basic structure of the Constitution. These are the fundamental rights under the Constitution. And the Constituent Assembly debated these rights for a number of days and decided to confer this right on the citizens. So therefore, the Constitution is definitely I would say, a liberal Constitution. I mean, I can equate the word secularism with liberalism, where everybody has a right to do whatever he wants to do, so long as he does not indulge in violence, so long as he does not, create disorder in public, and so long as he does not, indulge in immoral acts or cause any harm to somebody's health. So, I mean, barring these exceptions, the freedoms must be, truly interpreted in the widest possible sense. And that is something which we must understand, that the Constitution really wanted people to have ultimate, freedom of mind, freedom of body, freedom of action, freedom of, housing, freedom of every kind of a freedom, freedom of business, every kind of a freedom has been provided in the Constitution. So this is a document which is so beautiful, so, so liberal and so large-hearted, that to now, read it in a narrow sense is really doing a great disservice to this, 200 men and women who worked for almost 2 years plus to give us this fantastic document. So I don't agree that France's secularism is different from India's secularism, or secularism is everywhere same. It only means that, ultimately, let us understand one thing. Religion is a matter of personal faith, and it should always be, it should always be at home. You should, once you get out of your home, you should leave your religion behind. And religion has therefore no place in public life. I mean, it's a different matter that, since we are a majoritarian state, we can, develop the corridor in Varanasi, or we can, build a temple in Ayodhya by public funds. But that's something which I don't think constitutional framers ever wanted to do. They never envisaged this kind of a situation. So I feel that what we are really heading for is not what was ever, envisaged. It was never envisioned. And I don't think in the long run it's going to be a very healthy, because, public life and religion must always be separate. The moment they become one, the problems, for centuries we have seen that as and when religion were combined with, the ruling class, it created serious problems for thousands of years, thousands and thousands of years. So that's something which I think we are singularly forgetting the past experience, and, the liberalism of our, great religion, which has survived so beautifully for thousands of years. Take, for example, the greatest of India's emperor, Ashoka. He converted to Buddhism. And yet history today considers him as one of the greatest emperors that India's history has produced. So I don't think these are matters which should be really in today's modern democracies. I think somewhere we'll have to really introspect whether we want to go on this path for a long time or not.
In fact, it's very interesting that you said religion should have no place in public life. And we know this in theory that, for example, when a police officer puts on his uniform, he has no religion after that. His uniform is his religion. That is how public life has to be played out. But also, let's acknowledge identity politics, which was always the case in India, has become maybe more pronounced as we enter every election season, which we are in right now. We see a heightened sense of us versus them, a heightened sense of, targeted victimhood. I'm here to save you from the other, that sort of thing. How do we separate identity politics, which is vote for me because of your religion, your caste, your whatever else, from the same politician who then occupies office? Because we are seeing now our politicians are not able to separate these two things.
It's very difficult to, once this goes out of hand, it's very difficult to control it. And I'm really deeply disappointed because, I don't agree with what Karl Marx had said, that religion is opium of the masses. Religion is beautiful. Religion really is a very powerful tool to bring about, the salvation of souls, and to have a model code of conduct for an individual and a society at large. So religion has a great place in our society. And I think religion and Hinduism is a very beautiful religion. It's a way of life. And this way of life that we have been leading for over 5,000 years, to my mind, is fantastic. Now, to bring it into public life, I think we are really going to do a great disservice to our religion and to our country by mixing the two. We must allow people to have their own religious beliefs, follow their own religious practices. See, what is happening today is that this mixture is producing a religion which is more ritualistic than spiritual. Religion, in a true sense, is supposed to be spiritual because it's for salvation of the soul. And that spirituality, if it is going to be impacted because of this public demonstration of religion, which is which really causes a great problem in every religion. This is happening. It's not just Hinduism, even in Islam. I mean, there is a very serious today challenge that Islam is facing because of a completely, different interpretation of Quran. I mean, I don't think Quran ever, envisaged that people should wear burqas and should have beard and all that, move around like this, and should profess, and that loudspeaker should blare out from every mosque and at 5 times in a day, etc., etc. No, everything is now being misunderstood. Everything is now being done as a demonstrative religious practices rather than a personalized, religious practices to satisfy your own souls and to have a better life for yourself. So this, I am really surprised. I don't think, the Vedas ever taught us that. I mean, we are now seriously ignoring what the Vedic philosophy was so far as this country was concerned.
There was some criticism on social media again from some quarters who said that the Prime Minister's display of religious ritual in the Kashi ceremonies that we saw over the course of 2 days did not suit a constitutional position that he occupies. Is that something you agree with?
Well, I mean, left to myself, if I was a Prime Minister, would I have done it? The answer is respectfully no. I mean, it's not something, and Mr. Modi is a towering personality today in the country. He is unparalleled in the political spectrum. And there's no other, leader in any political party who can match his, stature, his status. He therefore needs to be much more cautious than what he is. And if he thinks that he can win elections by public demonstration of religious practices, and then I think we are missing a very serious opportunity, because he is the one who can take us into the next century with real development, with brotherhood of men, with equality amongst people, with dignity and respect of individual citizens, and with by generating a country which will have a tremendous economic opportunity, employment, very, very beautiful way he can take this country. And I think this demonstration of religious faith by him as the Prime Minister does signal that somewhere he is also feeling that the development that he promised himself in his 2014 and 2019 elections has really not taken off, and people are suffering, and therefore people may reject him, and he may therefore want to try and pursue it. I mean, fact of the matter is that Bharatiya Janata Party, which had just 2 seats in parliament after the Rath Yatra, got a fantastic approval by the majority community in the country, and it catapulted. I would still say that Bharatiya Janata Party is a great party, and institutions like RSS have a great role to play in reforming the society. But that reformation should not come by using religion. It should come by improving a way of life of citizens. That's the way they should really do it.
Mr. Dave, we also had not long ago, and I'm reading out of an article that was printed on the 11th of December, where the Chief Minister of Haryana, Mr. Manohar Lal Khattar, said, and I quote, "Namaz in public won't be tolerated." He did say, and he qualified this, he said that we will work with the boards in order to designate spaces for people to pray, but they cannot pray in public. We will not tolerate it. The word tolerate is actually a very strong word here. Do you see this purely as a law and order message going out? Is there more to it? Is there a sense here that the minority communities need to be tolerated?
See, this is a very vexed, issue of governance. I mean, offering of prayers on the public roads and blocking people on a routine basis, be it while offering namaz, or be it while the Kavariyas travel from Haridwar to their own villages. These are all matters which really raise a very serious issue of absence of governance in this country. And I feel that people must realize that every citizen has obligations to fellow citizens, and he can't really create a situation where fellow citizens are inconvenienced in any way. I mean, this is not about, it's different from right to protest. This is about, your religious practices, which on a daily basis or an annual basis you follow, which causes tremendous anxiety and apprehensions into the minds of fellow citizens. I think in such situation, it would be perhaps better for government of Haryana, rather than use this kind of expressions. The chief minister should have himself offered a piece of land to them and said that this is the piece of land that we are giving you. Please kindly construct a mosque. State will give you the money and you can offer prayers there. If state can spend money in building a Ram temple, they can certainly do it for a mosque in Gurgaon.
So would you say then that this is a law and order issue? With police permission, if the police says, yes, you can use this piece of land, where okay, it doesn't, because that effectively that's how all events are organized. The police decides if it impedes the movement of any other citizen, if it comes in the way, if it's too close to a school, if the noise is going to disturb a hospital, and then grants permission. So with police permission, is that okay then? Or is it a question of just...
It's not just a question of inconvenience and law and order. See, today, both the communities are taking very hardened stance. The majority community is doing it, and the minority communities are, and this is where problems are arising. And the majority community is completely forgetting that both Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel and Dr. Ambedkar during Constituent Assembly had repeatedly told majority community that responsibility lies on you to ensure that minority community is able to thrive in your country. And you have to put yourself into the shoes of minority community to feel how they feel. And then, you have to try and bring them into the main fold of the society. Ambedkar went to the extent of saying that minorities are an explosive force. And if you are able to control them, then it will create a serious problem. He said so on the Constituent Assembly, or perhaps on the last day on 25th November 1949 or something. So I feel that these are all matters where this is where the statesmanship comes into play. This is where leaders from every political party, leaders of religion, there are very respected religious leaders amongst the Hindus and amongst the Muslims and amongst the Christians. They all should get together, because we want to build a country where there is peace and tranquility, progress, and I think the development of human being is essential to developing a nation, and we must therefore all strive in that direction, because we are answerable to the generations which are going to come, in decades of years or centuries to come. We can't just leave behind a nation which is going to be so fractured that there will be constant struggles amongst the communities, and peace will be seriously threatened. We can't have that kind of a nation. So responsibility, frankly, lies on our leaders from across the spectrum in society. And perhaps I would pray, I would appeal with folded hands to people like Mr. Narendra Modi, and Mr. Bhagwat, and also other religious leaders in the Muslim and Hindu and Christian and Sikh communities, that they should really strive to build a beautiful nation. We are a great nation. We have, 5,000 years of history. We don't want to while it away in small issues and this kind of religious struggles.
Right. Mr. Dave, I've overshot the time that we had agreed on, but I want to thank you for giving us your time to help us understand this. This is obviously a evolving, like we know our constitution is a living, breathing thing. This is an evolving thing in our country as well, that we have to understand even better, especially for the younger people who are turning 18 and 20 now, for whom we have to build a foundation of what this country is like and what it was intended to be by our founding parents, like you said, when they were writing the Constitution. Mr. Dushyant Dave, Senior Advocate of the Supreme Court, thank you for speaking.
Thank you very much.
For our audience, take a look at the news. It's up at 9 o'clock. Just the news, no opinion. Thanks for watching.